Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, My So-Called Healthy Life. Okay, so if you watched my video yesterday, I talked extensively about my addiction to having to weigh myself on the scale, right? And that it's one of the first things that I do every morning, and that I just cannot walk past the scale, and that several times a day I weigh myself on the scale. Well, yesterday, I just weighed myself in the morning, and today I didn't weigh myself at all. I was like, no, I'm gonna wait until Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll weigh myself then. So I ate rather healthy yesterday. I've been drinking lots and lots of water. I am still sick, so I still don't feel full of grace or whatever. It's really hard sometimes watching myself in the camera because I'm like, oh, my face is blotchy. I mean, I can tell that I physically do not feel well, if that makes sense, just by looking at me. So it's sometimes hard because I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't make a video because it's just I look like shit. But then I'm like, oh, well, I mean, this is what I love to do. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about with the diet today, other than I was very proud of myself that I stayed off the scale. I will say this, it was very, very hard for me this morning to just not get on it. I was like, okay, it just doesn't matter, right? So, and I think for me, it's also that MyFitnessPal, if you guys know the app, MyFitnessPal, that I use that, and if you don't weigh in, later in the day, it will remind you, and it'll say, you've logged in for so many days in a row, please log in, or whatever, so you have continued to. So it's that encourages you to weigh in on a daily basis, and so when I don't, it's kind of in the back of my mind too, well, you didn't, so. Anyway, since we're not gonna talk a lot about weight today, I thought, well, I might as well do a meditation to start my day, because it's actually early in the day right now. So I will start the day, the weekend, the Friday, thank God it's Friday, with the daily book of positive quotations by Linda Picone, which I know by heart now because I read this every day. Autumn, October 20th. Autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower, said Albert Camus. The transitional seasons of spring and fall are often times of transition in our own personal lives as well. We pack away clothes that are too heavy or too light to wear and pull out favorites from the year before. We put up or take down screens and storm windows, plant or harvest the garden, move outdoor furniture in and out of the garage. Fall is when school begins, always a good time for fresh starts. Spring is when animals give birth and people fall in love. People fall in love all year round, of course, but there's something special about spring, it says. I'll use this time before winter as if I were going back to school. What do I want to accomplish this year? Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's such a good one. It got me right there in that last little line. I always actually think about that every year when the kids go back to school. As this is going to be my year to learn about one thing. And, it was interesting. I was driving around the other day and I was like, I don't read a lot of autobiographies. I kind of really wish I would read a lot of autobiographies about people that I was interested in. Or find something that I'm pseudo interested in and just go research everything about it. And in fact, I mean, this is kind of more of my vlog channel that I talk about these things on there. But I was thinking it would be really interesting for me to go and learn a lot about gay history. Because I know a little, but I don't know a lot, right? And I was actually watching this documentary the other night, and the death and life of Marsha P. Johnson. And I knew who she was, but I had never heard of her very close friend, Sylvia Romero, who was a bigger activist than she was. And I thought that's really interesting that I didn't know that, So a lot of times we don't learn things unless they're in pop culture, documentaries, Netflix these days, books, movies, things like that. I mean, how many of us that know anything about LGBTQ plus history would know anything about Harvey Milk had we not seen that movie? I mean, I would, but that's just because I had happened to read a book about it. But, so I think anything that's interesting to us or anything that defines who we are as people, another thing for me that's always really interesting to go back and read history on and is things about sobriety and recovery. And, this year I've made a commitment to reading one recovery book a month. And there's designated literature for 12-step programs. And so I've gone in and I've each month dedicated a book. And I don't talk a lot about that on here because I don't talk a lot about my 12-step work on my videos, but I just talk about being in recovery. But every month of the year, I've been working specifically on one book of recovery, if that makes sense. So, whether it's a religious issue, whether it's a spiritual issue, whether it's a health issue, whether it's just you want to learn about a certain kind of flower or tree, whatever it is, I think to take this time and say, okay, I'm going to kind of make a learning plan for myself. Wouldn't that be interesting? So yeah, it's something definitely to think about. What is something I want to learn more about? Like cooking, baking, anything. It could be anything. And just, you know, one of the things that I would suggest to people is to go to bookstores, half-price books, you know, Barnes & Noble, wherever, and just roam around and see what books pull your eye and what you're interested in. Shipwrecks, you know, treasure hunting, anything. It could be anything, right? Conspiracy theories, and then see what is, interesting to you and maybe learn more about that. So leave in the comment section below what you're going to dedicate some time learning to. All right, I love you guys. Bye.